The Wide Awakening presents What's Presenting in Consciousness with Jennifer Hough and special guest William Linville. And now, here is author, speaker, and coach Jennifer Hough.
Hi there, this is Jennifer Hough, and welcome to The Wide Awakening, and I'm here with one of my favorite agents of awakening, which is Mr. William Linville. I met him, I'm thinking it was over 12, 13 years ago now, in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, and it was quite an event. I feel like as he started talking, I thought, oh my God, finally someone speaks my language. They speak, weird, weirdese. Really, actually, it was more common sense to me. He was speaking sense to me, at least. And so, so I'm excited to introduce him to further introduce him in a couple of seconds. But before we get there, I just wanted to talk about an interesting little conversation I had with someone recently, and an example that really exemplifies what's possible when you live the way that Will and I are going to talk about. So recently, I put out there the quote again, the issue is not the issue, that you made it the issue is really the issue. And so it's funny because people don't understand, they sort of understand what it means, but they don't really. I'll tell you, when I was on my way to Boston a little bit earlier last week, what happened was the airport got all messed up. The airplanes got all messed up. The timing wasn't right. And I was so looking forward to seeing my friends and having amazing conversations. Yet the plane just kept getting later and later and later. And I'm like, why? And I'm just getting so upset and resistant. And all of a sudden I realized, what am I doing? Everything happens for me. Am I crazy? No, let's just go with this. Let's just go with it and have fun with it. So I started having fun with it, having fun with all the different airlines at the kiosk, trying to get a different flight. Didn't work, kept on the same one, which now was about 5 hours late. And I'm like, I have no idea why this is happening, and that's okay. I leaned in. And I went and got a coffee because I woke up really early for a 5-hour late flight and got some energy back and got on a plane. I ended up going all the way to Boston, meeting my friends very, very late in the day through a series of absolute complete miracles. Just because I wasn't upset, I was just following the threads of what was presenting. And I knew something weird was happening because the coincidences were ridiculous. I actually didn't even know I caught the last bus to Portsmouth, Maine, or Portsmouth, Massachusetts, I guess it is. Anyways, doesn't matter. I caught the very last bus through a series of ridiculous coincidences, sat next to a woman who had the same back surgery my husband did, just found out about stem cells, which my husband just did, which saved him, and she was questioning. I told her about that. She told me about a nutritional product she was taking, which I told her about it, and she was wondering if it worked or not, and I happened to just know exactly what it was. Then I said, did someone pass away this year? Because I can feel that they orchestrated my entire day to get me sitting beside you. And she said, yes, my brother, we were best friends. And I said, that's what it is. She goes, how do you know? And I said, I don't know. Today was just so ridiculous. It had to be something it just had to be. There was no way it could be anything else. And she said, well, you know what? I feel my brother all the time. And I just laughed. It was amazing. So that's making the miraculous normal. That really is just having an amazing time with life itself, as opposed to judging that it's not going your way. And so dancing with what presents is really a skill set that I've fine-tuned over my time working with William Linville and applying that to my life. And now we pay that forward to so many people. So I want to introduce this just awesome someone that is just so side by side And so, so fun to play with and so fun to have deep conversations with. And that is my dear friend, colleague, and always assistant extraordinaire in my life, Mr. William Linville. Mr. William Linville, are you there?
I'm right here, gorgeous. And how's it going, gorgeous? Are you having a lot of fun?
I'm having a lot of fun,
Oh, and happy Valentine's Day and everything.
Yeah, you too. Happy whatever. Happy end of February. Happy all of it. Just great to be.
Just happy for the sake of happy.
Yeah, happy for the sake of happy.
Just because.
Exactly, which is kind of like the story I was just telling. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you could choose to be happy or unhappy. The circumstances are really irrelevant.
Or fighting it or going with it.
Exactly. So, which is what we're going to do, like always in our interviews tonight, which is we're just going to go with it. There is no script. We are going to talk about whatever comes up in consciousness and lean in. And, Will, I know what's coming up. I sat next to the most extraordinary lady on the plane, of course, on my way back to Asheville.
Okay.
This woman is clearly got her act together. She's lovely. She's probably got a Heinz 57 variety background. I think some of her people are from Jamaica. Some of her people are she's from all over the world. But she has the absolutely most vivacious, outgoing, lovely personality. She's already a grandma. I think she and her husband are extremely successful, and we just had an extraordinary talk about these political times right now. It really does seem, she said, it looks like an incredible conspiracy. It feels like the bad people are going to take over the world, that there's a conspiracy. Like, she could just see how if the climate was just right, something really horrible could happen given the way the cards are being stacked. Can we talk a little bit about the craziness? Because I know there are a lot of people out there that are concerned, So, I know we can say all is well. But,
we could say it, but it doesn't really matter if you don't mean it.
Right. So, here we sit, and really it does look like some bad people if the cards played out a certain way. The complacency of human beings could result in some bad times in the United States, and therefore some probably not so great times for the world. So there's fear out there.
It would affect the whole by all means. Oh
yeah. So, are we dancing on the razor's edge here? Are we on the fence? Is there a tipping point? Is there a reason to be afraid, or what is there to do or not do, or what?
Well, I'm still scratching my head about what are the bad things going on?
I love that you said that. Well, I mean,
because I looked at all of it. Matter of fact, Friday nights usually after work, before energy work, or after energy work, either way, however it plays out, we'll either record or watch the info channel called Bill Maher. Okay.
Yep.
And it's so funny because it's a wonderful comedy, but you watch this stuff and you bypass all of his personal judgments and all the hoopla and nonsense.
Well, that would be most of the show.
Well, it really is, but some of it is basically, my angel loves it, and it's no more, no less than just basically entertainment with the schematics. If you don't pick a side, the schematics of what's really going on. It just is information, no more, no less.
Mm-hmm.
Now, information you can watch.
Is it true, Will? That's the thing that people want to know. Is it true information?
Like how so, sweetheart?
Well,
I mean,
I mean, there are some factual things that get presented on the news.
okay, like does Trump have a penis that looks like a mushroom? Well, yeah, that's true.
Probably.
And and I'm sorry to say that, but unfortunately it's true. Now, it may change the flavor of your Cheerios, but once again, what does it matter? I mean, that
I
came out from his girlfriend or porn star, one of the two. But
or
it's,
one and the same.
yeah, really. So it's kind of interesting because I always look at what does it matter? Okay.
Now, wait, Will. When you say what does
Uh-huh.
it matter? Okay, when you
Yeah.
say what does it matter? I mean, I know you. Are you saying what does it matter from the point of view of if we stay focused on our own vortex and if we stay focused on what's presenting in our life and we stay focused on what there is to do to expand who we are and the reason we were born and all the beautiful things to play with,
Uh-huh.
even if the United States went to a hell in a
Can, can,
handbasket,
can you go back for a minute?
yeah, okay.
Can you repeat that, please?
So even if, hold on,
But this
even
time
if,
I want you to really repeat it, really feel it, really take that to heart.
so
Not just say it, but really
at,
feel it.
so here I'm following the threads of what's presenting. I personally
Uh-huh.
am looking at all the possibility and all the amazing people in the world and all of the dear ones that I have the privilege of working with.
Uh-huh.
And I watch how much heart and love and I don't know, creativity
Uh-huh.
um, and resonance with flow and harmony that people either yearn for and are pursuing or are living and just want more, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Which I want to say for a minute
yes,
are things that not opinionated, not selective,
right.
but literally things that actually matter,
Mm-hmm.
that are creating optimum health and well-being, that
Sure.
are creating new ways from a new energy of how we act, interact, how we connect, and even how we raise our young ones, even all the way down to how we function in a body on a planet, all the way down to what we do, how we do, where we go, and
Mm-hmm.
quite literally, quite physically, and factually, how we affect all the other dear ones in our live stream.
Uh-huh.
Things that we can practically, since Jeannie's there, practically and literally take to heart and really practically literally feel, do, and jump into, and factually literally something that we actually totally thoroughly have a say so over that is going the total opposite of the US and any other country, um, going down the handbasket sort of scenario because it's it's such so humorous if you take the emotion out of it. I mean, we have a dear one with red, gold, blonde, whatever hairs, who has a lot of judgments, obviously, who's so afraid and so scared of letting anyone become too close, including his kids, his bride, and so forth and so forth,
Right.
that is so scared, so paranoid, and also puts on all these tough guy, bully on the playground bravados, but factually speaking, it's just a scared little 3-year-old
Yes.
trying to make it for 4 that is still seeking and searching for his father's approval. And everywhere he's looking, everywhere that he speaks, everywhere that he goes, he's trying to make friends, trying to, and he doesn't like the media because the media even spell check and everything else, calls his bluff and challenges them. So he's trying to make friends with anyone that will be his friend, and brings up and connects with these tier ones that are basically anger begets anger. So he brings in all the angry tier ones. That still doesn't matter because they don't have anything to go with. He can go try to push the big perceivable red button, and he's going to be blocked before he ever makes it downstairs. It just is a fact. No one's literally universe, brother humanity, military, blah, 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 would even give him the ability to really be able to hit the button. And then, with all of his underlying dealings and lack of integrity dealings, well, all of that stuff, I would hope that everyone would be jumping up and down about it, because isn't it about time that all of it be exposed anyways, skipping all the perceivable conspiracy theories and all that nonsense, and really looking at it? I mean, every time the dear one opens his mouth, 25 moccasins with a lot of rubber come out, and it's so funny because of all the shoes he puts in his mouth, and there's just no holding him back, and there's no getting him out of his own way, and everything's about him, which is only showing more and more of what's really going on behind closed doors. And
wait a second. Yeah. What's bothersome to this woman, and I think she represents a lot of people, which is why I think is great to talk about. What's bothering her is all of the people that are so gullible to be gaslit by such a manipulator. So how can so many people be fooled by him?
Okay, it's pretty simple.
Okay.
So let's take it back beyond him. Let's take it to a bigger arena.
Okay.
Let's take the biggest business on the planet, Catholicism.
Okay.
How can so many be fooled, hijacked, guilted into giving their kids up for singing practice and having them molested, taken advantage of? How can so many give all of their abundance, some earned with literal blood, sweat, and tears?
Gotcha.
How can so many give their whole life away and volunteer their kids to be the next up-and-coming priest, nun, whatever, and then knowing full well, chances are they're going to be basically raped by the lonely priest, but at least they're doing God's work, whatever that means, which really technically means what Brother Humanity wants them to do, as long as they get a fancy robe and a ring out of it.
So two things come to mind as you're speaking about that, Will. The first thing is I see that changing. I see people moving more towards understanding themselves as a divine child of God rather than giving their power away to the church. I mean, it's an epidemic at this point, an epidemic of people moving away from the church. So that's and for that exact reason.
Yeah, and then you take it to the microcosm.
Right.
They're ones that are raising their offsprings just how they're supposed to be, the prim and proper, elegant, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they have to go to Cambridge. They have to go to Harvard because, it's just, where our family comes from. Whether they're kicking and screaming or not, they have to be on the honor roll, the top of the school and the top of the grade. And then they're going to leave school and then they're going to end up getting a nice job, but they're going to have to take a year or two because, that's not acceptable to get the best job on the planet. First, you got to get hitched.
Right.
Then you can move on, and then you knock out a couple little ones. And where in any of that do they actually get to have their own life?
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening all around. And then there's all these tier ones. Unfortunately, they're waking up, which is brilliant. That just is what it is. That's why you're watching so many revolts. That's why you're watching so many. Protests are going a little bit extreme depending on the ones that dear ones truly start acting out. And you're watching dear ones acting out step after step, day after day. But that's kind of going overkill where, hurting others and all that. But, that's totally going the opposite extreme. But then you're watching dear ones say, quite literally, very consciously, enough's enough. And then the fire comes out, and then they settle down and they start really seeking, searching, and finding and reclaiming, even embodying who they are. And then it's so interesting, Jen, because that's where they start finding God, but not the man-made God, the God that they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where creator man, just creator in the mammalian species, has nothing to do with gender. And they start arising. And it's interesting how they're no longer, not necessarily like they're running away from the status quo, but they're definitely not being overtaken by it. And where they're able to move with it and expand through it. But now they're on different stages to where they're showing a whole different journey. And now they're teachers of teachers, on and on and on. That now they're not selloutable, they're not shutdownable, they're not self-doubtable, and all that fun stuff. And then going back to the Trumpinator, we have that group, okay. What's her name? Called them deplorables and all that, but which isn't really fair for them either, because there's two kingdoms here. Ones that are all about stepping into their own divinity and their own power, and then others that are so ready, so willing, at the drop of a hat or a feather or a hammer, they cannot wait to give their power away. They cannot wait to give all responsibility for themselves, their life, to someone. And then when it doesn't work out, because it's not going to work out, they have someone to blame and give responsibility to.
Right. And
Yeah.
so it's almost getting more polarized, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but just like the church situation, more and more people are finding out that they're this finger of the hand of God, literally a creator, a mini creator here to play with all that's available in the resources of consciousness. And sometimes you have to feel enough pain to be catalyzed to even want to remember.
And it's kind of interesting because it's not just about the priests, it's the nuns getting busted for child abuse, blah, blah, blah. And where many of them, even as we speak, are walking away from that whole regime, that whole business.
Mm-hmm.
And they're seriously, literally waking up from it and finding and realizing and seeing and connecting with the creators that they are, to where they're not giving their power away anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's the funny thing is, if you watch the news, I mean, it's all going to hell in a handbasket. But
well, yeah, that's how they make money.
Yes.
And then they create fear, because fear in the past has made a lot of abundance.
Yes.
And it sells sleeping bags, tents, and the next camp out. Okay. And then it gets your blood pumping. So you act out, and then you start doing all this irrational stuff, irrational spending and prepping for the last days. And, our REI makes a lot of money off that one. And so does Walmart, and then the water industry. And it's like, well, why save it? Before you know it, money's not going to be good for anything. So we're going to go pile up all the wood we can, and, and arm ourselves and arm the bears as well while we're at it. So from there, it's playing with the oldest trick in the book, which is dominating consciousness.
And so that must be coming up to leave then. If this is what's sort of it's like the pimple that's ready to pop, for lack of that's a pretty disgusting analogy, but it feels
until the white stuff comes out.
At the same time, Will, just before we did this interview, you and I both have the privilege of working with people at such a deep level. And I was talking to this young lady, and she's a bridge builder. She's a unicorn, and she never felt like she fit in school, and she felt like the system wasn't made for her, because the system is really the way you turn out people that try to fit in and believe, like sheep thinking. And she just knew that,
Exactly.
and it wasn't for her. And we spent the whole hour just having the most amazing chat about what's possible and how you live by, really connecting with your own innate wisdom and dancing to dancing to the beat of your own drum. And she was just, I mean, as you said, it's like you asked me to talk a little bit more about the specifics of what you see in the world. And she would be a really good specific, but I see so many of those people that want to know how to get out of the rat race and really play with the dolphins, and that's her. And there are so many like her that are young. And that's where I see, I mean, we all have the opportunity to get young like that, like
absolutely. But
young.
And I'm all for that. And I've worked with many dear ones from all over the planet, even some from Colorado, California, that really they just do not, and Europe, blah blah blah, that just do not fit into the system. So they physically went over to Hawaii, camped out on the beach, and lived on the beaches, and loving the oceanic realms and the freedom, which is, awesome. Then they went to France and all over the place. But the thing is the other part of all this, with their freedom and kind of like a wild stallion, okay?
Right.
And like a beautiful white stallion, they're going out, enjoying the freedom. Only thing missing is Marlboros and a Harley. And from there, doing their own thing. But then other stuff started coming up, such as how their divine feminine was coming in so powerfully that they could not wait to have a relationship, a real relationship of the heart, and how they felt this passionate yearning within themselves to want offsprings and to have a family. And that's where there's a little bit of negotiation that's very important here. Because you're not going to knock out some little ones while you're living on the beach in Hawaii fishing for sustenance and hoping that there's not going to rain. So at some
gotta
point,
make some money.
And that's when reality sets in.
Yeah.
So then you look at, okay, how can I bring myself, whether it's, let's say, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, whatever it calls to you, or maybe a corporate position for that matter.
Yeah.
And how can I bring this all of myself? I'm not going to compromise myself, but I do have a body on a planet.
Yeah.
And my body, requires getting from point A to point B. So that requires a car or a scooter or nice shoes or good shoes, to where, that requires money and then fuel, all the basics, right?
Yeah.
So from there, where am I willing to start re-engaging with Brother Humanity to have it all? So you weren't designed to, nor created even within yourself, to go out, live on some plantation somewhere and escape the world. You were created to step through the world, divinitize it, purify it, and really be able to thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, if you want to live in the Congo, more power to you, but there's more to it than that.
Right. It's like you get to be all that heavenly freewheeling self, but in a body on a planet, as you like to say, and it's both. That's why we were born. We were born to experience all of life, but as that creative being. And the more you engage life, the more creating there is to do. It's when we start getting resistant, like when the story I told earlier, when the plane wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, the more you engage life, you notice that often life doesn't go the way your mind wants it to go, but there's so much to play with. And when we're not playing with it all, we kind of miss out on how juicy it can get.
Well, and also that, it's kind of like a challenge for oneself. That I say challenge, but not really as a job. How much of
Yeah.
that heavenly sparkling unicorn self can we bring through a 9 to 5? How much of that can we
Yeah.
bring through the grocery store,
Amen.
through Metropolis, a woman? And then from here, where we can get moving and running in every direction of creation.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So you
It's
so you
absolute. It's
say
like
amen and I'll say a woman, okay? Just to try to balance it out a little bit. Okay.
yeah, it's really about infusing that magical nature in every area of life. I mean, that's part
And
of,
then it did not letting anyone have the power to take that away from you.
and that's freedom.
Totally.
Yeah, that's freedom. I remember, Will, you and I had a journey once. We went down the river Styx. We had all these crazy dead people grabbing at us, and
Uh-huh.
you asked the question, does, what has the power to get? And I'm like, nothing has, like, as we went down, it's like, what is there to be afraid of? Nothing has the power to get me. Literally,
Exactly.
nothing has the power to get me. Even if I died, nothing has the power to get me. That was
Hmm.
just a body.
And then it's so funny because we look at that and it's
Yeah,
like, all right, well, I picked this one up. Well, I'm sure I could pick up another one. Not a big deal.
yeah,
Now, that's where it dissolved right there.
yeah,
And there's, at that point, well, it shifts all the magnetics.
yep,
There's no longer, none of it has any power over you nor the outcome.
yeah. And
And
that's when, there's so much more. For me, there was so much more. It was all about the inspiration to fly forward, so outweighed the fears at that point that it's just, okay, let's go play. So,
well,
which,
exactly. And where we
yeah,
just have more of a blast than ever, sweetheart.
absolutely. So I just want to share with everyone that we've got a few things coming up, but I want to tell you, share or ask Will a couple questions about what he's got coming up. You can find Will at williamlinville.com, WILLIAMLINVILLE.com, and the company is called Universalis. And so, Will, what do you have coming up that's really super cool?
Okay, well, on Tuesday, it looks like the 26th at 7 p.m., we switch around our teleconferences to really bring any question about any topic. Let's run with it. So that's what our teleconference is going to be about. And then if you keep an eye on the website, we're beyond our usual schedule of webcasts and interviews as well as the teleconferences. We're adding a program, and I think it's going to go up to a year. Mike and Becky are working on it, and we've already gone through the data and information for it. So now we're just waiting for all the rest of the pieces to come together with their concern. And I believe we're going to launch it in March.
Awesome.
So we have something like that. It's not quite a mastery. It's something totally different because we wanted to mix it up.
Oh, fun. Can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah.
And so, guys, always follow your heart on this stuff, right? So what we have coming up over here at the Wide Awakening is, of course, always doing our 11/11 Facebook Live on facebook.com/groups/TWA Playground. Go and join. We do a Facebook Live, and then we have an amazing discussion afterwards. So come play. And the second thing is very important, get out of your own way, that we are creating anew. And that is the third weekend in March, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all about really being able to commune with, have a conversation with, and not even have a conversation, just to marry with your divine greater intelligence, so that you're not running around aimlessly trying to follow someone else's strategy. You're actually engaging life from the level of the smallest particle of wisdom, such that you can apply that to this three-dimensional reality and live, like the miracle zone is your new normal. So that's what we got coming up the third week of March. So follow your heart. And I'm a huge fan of getting assistance. Every person I know that's living in flow has someone somewhere that's assisting them to see things a different way. So whether it's Will, whether it's myself, whether it's somebody else, it doesn't matter. But follow your heart. Don't, there's so often I see people get jaded. It's like, I've taken so many courses. And it's usually because you've approached these beautiful opportunities as I'm broken and I need fixing, and I'm not fixed yet. But if you approach programs like these, like you're broken and you need fixing, you're always going to be expecting a certain result and attached to that. And what I've learned over years with my clients, with working with Will, with the whole thing, is that it's kind of like the rolling stone. You don't always get what you want, but you will get what you need. And approaching yourself like you're already whole and complete, and then coming to something to see how you can have more of the juiciness and the flow. Who doesn't want more juiciness and flow? And of course you're going to get more if you're really authentically diving in. And the cool thing is, you don't have to focus on being broken. You never were, you never will be. It's all good. So just consider that as you're going through your life. I'm a real fan of getting assistance. I have a amazing business advisor who I love so much. I learn from my clients all the time. I get to talk to Will. It's fun. You just find more flow all the time. So really allow yourself to let your heart resonate where it resonates, and then follow that, because it's fun. It's awesome. It just makes things better and better all the time. So, Will.
Oh, yes, gorgeous.
Okay, I have a question.
I have an answer.
Excellent. Then we're a match made in heaven. I have a question, but I'm not going to ask it. No.
Okay, I have an answer, but I'm not going to share it.
Nice. See,
so we're pretty much on the same page.
Magnetics are always consistent. They never lie.
Yeah, so let's just sit here in silence and see who's going to budge first. I'll put a lighter to my feet first.
I'll contemplate my belly button. Okay.
Nothing like raspberries.
I basically have two big questions. I know these are common. I know we're not alone in this one. So both of these are from people that are very close. So.
Well, Jen, I am happily married, and I'm really, I appreciate the interest.
Yeah. Okay.
But
damn it. Why? You're so funny. I don't know. I really have a great deal of reverence for Mary. It's like I don't know what that must be like.
She has a lot of patience.
I have a lot of reverence for that dear soul over there.
She's mastered her patience and rolling of eyes.
You know what's really funny? I bet you Adam feels the same way. So let's see here. So the question was language, the cost. I mean, I actually need to language the question differently, because it's not going to be a productive answer if I language it this way. It's really about becoming oneself more and more, becoming more integrated with all of the splintered pieces that got lost when we went through all the, stressful or painful events in our lives. I think of Jeannie, I think of Adam, I think of myself. And I think to myself, why? I can see people seeing what's possible, and they're all very sensitive beings. And they're all on the precipice of experiencing, like they have the vision of what's possible. And some are impatient. Some are doing it, trying to get to who they're meant to be as an egoic pursuit, like it means something about them to go there. But it feels like there's this, and then I look at me and I always take it on like a self-flagellation. Like if I don't become fully myself, everyone around me it's going to cost everyone around me not being fully themselves. So, so there's a carrying for me, which doesn't exist for the ones that are near and dear. How do we know we're on our path? In their cases, do we stay out of beating ourselves up or judging ourselves for not being where we wish we would? And how do we stay out of that victim-y place or attached place where these are all ways of sabotaging having the best life, right? Just having the fulfilled life. So It seems like people are really super scared, or we are super creative about inventing ways to sabotage that flight forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, exactly, what's the question? How do we stay out of it?
Yeah, how do we stay? Is there like a switch that we could make so that like the whole idea of finding ways to sabotage our flight forward becomes not very interesting?
Well, number one,
okay,
you can tell you're starting to sabotage yourself when you feel you're connecting and everything feels so light, so vibrant, so lively, okay? And you can feel the radiance, the openness, and the lightness of it, okay? And then this is where it starts getting odd. Okay, so now, for some odd reason, that the mind's your friend, okay? But then the ego starts to flare up and says, okay, wow, now I got to do something with it or about it. And this is where you start tightening up, and it's kind of like winning the lottery. You win the lottery, you have all this abundance, and that's the fun part, that's the exciting part, right? And then all of a sudden, okay, now we got to do something with it. Now, this is where it starts getting really, really, really totally overwhelming and overcomplicated. So, when you start to watch and feel your tummy tightening, you start to feel your shoulders moving up like they're becoming new earplugs. Now you know you're going in pretty much against yourself, and you're starting to sabotage yourself, and watching something so beautiful becomes super duper overly complicated. And then before you know it, it's like kaplooey, and you're dealing with one brush fire after another, sometimes even forest fires, and watching how screwy and batty things start taking right turns, left turns, and turning upside down, inside right, and basically, literally, totally emotionally dyslexic. And then you start watching something that was so beautiful, unfortunately, break down, go into flames, and all this fun stuff. Now,
right. And so how So we notice it, when we get the amount of time before we notice that we're out of alignment becomes, well, at least what I've noticed in my life is just over time it becomes shorter and shorter until it's, for some parts of my life, almost slim to none. But some people, like, what's the mechanism where people just continue to go back to self-attachment or self-flagellation? What is the mechanism that needs to be transcended when one is constantly in attachment? Sorry, Will, go ahead.
Control and guilt. So something so beautiful lands right in front of you.
Okay.
Let's say it's a doorway. Let's say it's an opportunity. Let's say it could be a large amount of abundance, on and on and on. It could be a new job, a new relationship. I mean, really, anything you could dream of. Let's let it be that. Okay?
Yeah.
And I've watched this, unfortunately, time after time.
Yeah.
And I say unfortunately because it's so unnecessary, but, many meeting their divine complement and even at times marriage of the heart, on and on and on. And they get in there, everything is cupids, rainbows, leprechauns, and I don't know, unicorns running around.
Yeah.
With flatus, with little parts of glitter poofing out. Okay, now, and all of that's wonderful. And then they may shack up together. They may spend every daytime moment together or their free time moments. And all of that's wonderful. And please let the love grow more and more, faster, clearer, brighter, passionately, until one of them, and this is where I do have to say, more often than not, it usually is the female. Okay? It's not gender related per se, but it's just more often than not. Okay?
Yeah.
She'll jump in and now have to start forming it and controlling it. Some of it is fear. I mean, technically it's all fear-based, but insecurity-based.
Yeah.
Unsupportedly based, and waiting, because males, unfortunately, due to many males that were ran more by Mr. Happy than, their brain. And, their testosterone went off the map and they would mount anything, including the family dog, given the chance. So, that's where, okay, I would say some of it's somewhat founded.
Yeah.
But, and then there's that point where it's grasping on more often than not around the throat. Okay.
Yeah.
And then trying to contain it, attach to it, and force it to look a certain way.
Yes. For
the female's comfort.
I would not know anything about that.
Oh, I know. You and we're just totally talking about soap operas.
Totally.
Days of our lives.
Yeah. We already won the Enlightenment Olympics. We would. I personally can't speak about you, but I personally would never.
Oh, and sweetheart, you lit the torch. I mean, what are we talking about? So, but it's interesting. Okay. And then the male, with all the egoic testosterone, bravado, they get afraid because they're feeling all this love. And then, oops, here comes the chains.
Yeah.
And they're not real chains. They're, more importantly, temporary chains. Okay.
Yeah.
And you go from there, and they get panicked, and more often than not, act out, throw a temper tantrum, or run the other way.
Right.
And as quick as they can, and go into hiding, witness protection program and all that. But from there, it really depends on how much they're going to let, not make, but just let the heart stay open and continue to, I'll say, have a blast together, but I don't mean that Heidi flighty.
Yeah,
I
you
mean
mean
really enjoying each
fun.
other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
And keeping all the, I'll say, serious stuff. Now, when I say that, it's like those long, drawn out emotional dialogue and trying to make their relationship into a seminar, because that's the first way it's going to shut down. Okay.
Yeah.
Because now we're both getting, for your anniversary, we're buying each one of you a magnifying glass to dissect the other, and that's going to be a super shutdown wrap-up mode.
Yep.
The dear ones are coming in to celebrate together, to enjoy together. And even I'll go to the quote, i.e., serious stuff is okay. Hey, how do you seriously want to start coming together and creating together? Let's forget about the past. If something's there, it will roar up, and that's when I'll deal with it, address it, deal with it, be done with it. But let's not sit around looking for stuff. And let's definitely not pick apart our partners and look for fault for your own safety and comfort levels, or even look for fault so you can be one leg up. I mean, let's really thoroughly jump in with all of our heart. We have everything to gain, nothing to lose.
So what I hear you saying is the difference is if you focus on the play and the fun and the connection and the common interests and the creativity together and the all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What happens is the other stuff starts to work itself out.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Like, for example, my agent and I came together, and I was in the office. Well, at that time, it was rented out to someone named Deborah, but I was in there doing something, and my angel came in with a very serious look on her face.
Yeah.
And she said, well, honey, I don't like to do this, but, I am going to have to ask you to pay rent. And I kind of chuckled, and I grabbed my checkbook, signed the check, and said, take what you feel is necessary. I mean, really, she could have wrote it for anything, however much, whatever. But, I mean, really, why would something so small have any power? And I was kind of chuckling, it was kind of adorable, actually, because that's a very sensitive spot for dear ones. Now,
it's vulnerable, right?
Well, yeah, and I put my whole heart on the line, and she could have wiped out the bank account. I mean, she could have done anything she wanted.
Sure.
But that's what I mean by total trust. It was trust in her, trust in the universe, and the love was there, the heart was there. So why would we hold back?
Right, and that even if things did go awry, you just find out faster.
Well, and you would nip it right there. And if that was the mistake and it was going awry, well, I already know something would have come up. The check would have been refused, and I would have wrote a different check. But that was if that were to go south, right?
Right.
So you're taken care of, and then, okay, there's kind of a lot for rent, $30,000, but and it would have something would have occurred, it wouldn't have gone through, and it would have been blocked right there. So, I mean, really, don't just take this in analytically. Really take this in through your heart.
Through that
Love
space
is the core and the glue that holds the whole universe together, including the whole planet, including each and every granule of sand that creates physical matter, or at least the appearance of physical matter. So, wouldn't you kind of assume that it would and is taking care of you and your whole life stream as well? including keeping your heart beating and your organs communicating, your cells dividing, and even rebuilding, regenerating the body. So why would something so small be such a big deal?
Yep.
Why would we become afraid of something that we're stepping into that supports you 24/7?
Yep. Totally. I mean, I will say this out loud, you see this on a level that you feel that you know this, you embody this on a level, Will, that most people, the cool thing is you speaking about it has us all be able to feel what's more deeply possible. And we know that I know that what you're saying is absolutely 100% true. I mean, I feel that to be true. So,
And
yes.
yeah, oh, go ahead.
Well, the other part of it is this, that I also feel that through relationships, oftentimes, especially these days, through our willingness to just play as another way of operating with life, like just play, just say yes, you're always going to be taken care of at the most incredible levels that you can't even imagine. And as we say yes, we collect evidence that that's true for those of us that maybe don't know it to the level that you do. There's also evidence collected, which feels really great to see that evidence actually play out. It really is true. That really is the way it is. Just like that lady on the bus that I described earlier. I mean, so obvious that somebody loved her beyond this realm. It's not just a dead person. It's the entire universe going, oh, you don't have to suffer with your back pain. You don't have to. You've got angels, earth angels, non-earth angels. There are angels everywhere, and she was open to them. So I suppose what I'm saying is this, that that the more quickly we say yes to what's presenting, the more fluidly it actually goes.
And quickly, and where, it goes, it opens, and there's no door too big, there's no door too small. It's something that, you can always say no to a door. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
You can say thank you, but no thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, well, I prefer these doors over there. So, okay, more of these, please. And there's no judgment. The universe doesn't judge. That's a human trait.
Sure.
Okay. Now, I look at all that. That's all very true. Thank you. And okay, but I also look at, these doors. I may start out as a janitor, or I may start out as a secretary, a receptionist, or I may start out as a CEO. Now, what really matters is the doorway in, and your higher levels have you from there. Now, it's not so much about the job title, okay? It's more about watching the mechanics occur once you physically show up. And then you look at relationships in their simplest of terms, which means the ability to relate, and where we are not holding back. We're not, let's just say, holding secrets and all this and putting on personas. I am who I am, and you'll like me, you'll not like me. That's totally up to you, but that's not about me. That's about you. And, well, whatever works for you. If you don't like my haircut, well, I encourage you to not look at it. And, if you don't like my eyes or costumes, well, I do encourage you to shut your eyes. whatever works for you. If you don't like my Kalogny, you should plug your nose. I'm not concerned about it. So why would we, hold back anything?
Right.
If you don't like what I share, plug your ears and say watermelon 100 times. And
But
that's your
but what if because I hear this a lot, what if you feel like it's getting to, where you have withheld or you haven't been yourself? I will say this to you, well, like, because I know this question is out there. Is it ever too late?
there. What's we heard?
Is it ever too late?
No, and then what happens is you say, okay, you know what? Gosh, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. Okay, so all right, hey guys, present the next situation where I can show more of myself, if not all of myself, and then I mean seriously, very physically and practically speaking, since Jeannie's there, I always tease her about practicalities, but
Uh,
from here, watch how quick it does represent for you to have that opportunity
mm-hmm.
to become more and more comfortable in your own skin, to express all of yourself with really, really nothing held back and nothing to hide,
Mm-hmm.
nothing to withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not referring to jumping up onto the boardroom table and, singing Dolly Parton songs, and
Damn it.
old Susanna. I mean, unless it really calls to you, hey, knock yourself out. But, and please slap your thighs and clap. But from there, it's
Damn it, I wanted to do that.
yeah, old Susanna, she's the one for me. Okay. And, from there, where I am who I am, and I'll share what I share, and I'm right there through the opportunity, and if it arises, great, bring it on, let's go. And where you're not feeling, and you're definitely not withdrawing, going into shutdown mode. No, you check your ego, and you're not trying to make a big giant point so everyone sees it your way. You're just sharing what is.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to lose, nothing to gain,
Right.
and really just what is.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So so the answer is it's you can shift the energy of anything. It really is. There's no such thing
Everything.
of too late.
Yeah, and you have the ability and the power to shift absolutely everything.
So powerful.
And, we mention a lot about labels and titles, but the reality is there is no level of importance. You're important because you are creator incarnate, period. The rest is just what you do.
Right. So in other words, getting somewhere or how it looks, or even if even if even if the person doesn't match your pretty picture,
Exactly.
it doesn't
And
matter.
yeah, it could look like the Wicked Witch from Snow White, but who cares? They're still creator incarnate. And going back to the beginning, they can look like, I don't know why they call them rednecks, but rednecks with, half their teeth missing, chewing tobacco and spitting on your shoe. They're
Sure.
still creator incarnate.
Yep.
They can be the one saying, I'm the best kisser in town. Daddy told me so. They're still creator incarnate. And they, whether they ever left the shed or not, they're still creator incarnate.
Yeah. I have experience with that being, you miss out on a lot of amazing people when you judge.
Yeah, and then from there, even Trump is creator incarnate, and all the Trumpettes are creator incarnate, and then John Dong Lim, or whatever his name is, is creator incarnate. Same with the prime minister, the Putinizer, and all that fun stuff. Still creator incarnate. And then, all right, big guns. All right, entourage. All right, universe. Take it from here. And, if you step back for a moment, just get out of all the emotional hurrahs, because that's why they're doing what they're doing, is to try to get you worked up. So basically, you'll give all your power away and eventually do whatever they want you to do whenever they want you to do it. It's either them or the government, and getting strung along with all the power games.
Right.
And it's, both sides are still playing power games. There's no good or bad here.
Yeah.
It's still power games.
Yeah.
And then if you're into conspiracies, okay, the reptilians are taking over. Well, whatever works for you, it's not happening. But still, it's all power games, fear tactics.
Yeah.
When the reality is so much light is coming to the planet, all these crevasses are being exposed, all these old good boy systems are collapsing. And all of the slip me cash in my hand when no one's looking is also collapsing. And all the slipping of cash is now being exposed. And this isn't about president and all that. It's about when he leaves office and how many toys he can leave with at the expense of the whole. And then that's being exposed. So, it's for all of us. The only thing that matters here is how best we can walk our walk and assist along the way. Because if I'm going to be inspired by anything, how much more can I assist? How much better can I walk my walk? How much more love, light, beingness can I emanate? Because that's something I can do right here, right now. I'm not going to go play Save the Whales and the, I don't know, liberals or something. It's like, thank you, but no thank you. But I'm not going to walk around with my head in dazed in the fog either. Okay, because information is a very powerful thing, but you're not letting it run your life.
Right. Right. So powerful, Will. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I mean, we talk about the macrocosm of politics, but even in the microcosm of a relationship, you don't let everything is coming up to leave right now. So if we take, I understand what you're saying around relationships in that, women have, the feminine has spent a long time feeling subjugated, and the infrastructure was created by the masculine. So there's an underlying environment that we run around in that you can really feel schizophrenic. And I don't use that term lightly. It really does feel that way. Sometimes you're completely on and in love with life and, oh my God, the world is your oyster. And sometimes you will just feel like you have to control this. You'll feel like it, like you have to control the situation, and the universe absolutely does not have your back. And all of a sudden you're, as a woman, on really trying to manipulate what's going on in front of you so that you don't have to get scared anymore like you had in a million lifetimes,
And it's kind of colorful because men did create the structures, the masculine consciousness and energy, but it's funny because males did that, but the females have ran it and dominated it. It just is what it is. Yeah. They've kept it running. They've kept it being fed. They've kept it moving and have kept it strong. The males get a lot of the credit, the big barbarians, blah, 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 but they would not have got even close to where they have got, including scholars and studiousnesses, and including Merlin and astrological charts without the female. So, and that's why you're watching the pendulum swing back from the female and from the male, because it's gone back and forth several times. Now it's finding a lot easier. At first, it was a little bit rough, but finding an easier landing field, like a
Mm-hmm.
runway, to bring forth the harmony with all of it.
Yeah,
That's
what you're
why
saying.
you're watching the whole genders, like, everything from uh, homosexuals to lesbianism to trans, which are those that are undecided, and to bi to hetero, and all these things that, you know, are still right there, finding a middle point.
And so what this leads me to feel is that women, because women just, I'm just gonna, oh my gosh, this is like the Me Too movement. We never really said, uh, there was never a stand for no, this can't happen until like at this
Uh-huh.
point in our history, there's a big no. It's like it's not okay
Uh-huh.
anymore. So the power is really in our hands because it's our no to what's going on that's shifting things.
Well, absolutely. And then the flip side
Yeah.
is the ones that used it to get what they wanted,
Mm,
the gender principle, blah blah blah, all of that,
yeah.
stereotyping, and you know that they used it because it is a very strong power. The divine feminine is
Mm.
a very conniving power, if used
Uh,
that way.
100%. I've had to own up to that so many times. I remember the first few times that I owned up to it, it was embarrassing. It's like, oh my God, I can't even believe I was doing that so unconsciously.
Yeah, and males, unfortunately, they're more susceptible because they give so much energy to the lower chakra levels that they're they're overtakeable, seducible, and basically flat out being blindsided. So so from there, they moved south, and it's pretty much a done deal right there.
Right,
Now, but then it's finding a middle point, and
right.
where it's all coming back to center ground through the heart rather than the solar plexus down, because the solar plexus down is where all the physical levels are.
Mm-hmm.
The heart up is the marriage of the physical and your higher levels. It's the
Mm.
midpoint. So
Beautiful, Will.
take between the yin and the yang.
That's so, like, seriously, that's deep. That is
Yeah,
just really, that is deep. That's like super
yeah,
deep.
yeah. And
So,
it's integrating, and then it's almost like, I mean, I'll use the example like a ripple effect or a
mhm.
bomb that goes so powerfully exponentially as it becomes fully integrated. That's why it looks so backwards right now, you know, uh, and why it's so much like a yo-yo right now. It's
Yeah.
trying to find its center point.
Huh. Really cool. I totally feel this. Yeah, it's very
So,
powerful.
so if we're gonna watch the media, okay, let's
Yeah.
watch it with finding the middle point. What's really going on?
Right, which is now you're speaking my language because that's what this woman on the plane and I, it was a grateful circle at this beautiful ending of the show. She and I had a conversation. I said, it's not really about who's right and who's wrong. It really is about finding the place where we can build a bridge instead of a wall, so to speak. Um, you know, how do we bridge to be human rather than worrying about the masculine and the feminine? How do we find the bridge back home because, yeah, go
Exactly.
ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful discussion, Will. Man, could just go down wormholes on just about every sentence. However, it is the end of the show, and I just wanted to super thank you for, again, a fabulous, juicy, delicious discussion. And I wanted to thank all of our listeners for being here. You can find William at williamlinville.com and find out more about that cool program that he's doing in March and his thing coming up on Tuesday. And of course, you can always find the information about Get Out of Your Own Way at thewideawakening.com and look at ways to play with us. So Will, again, thank you. Big hugs to Mike, big hugs to Mary, and I love you madly. So much to chew on tonight. Really, really good. Thank you for such a great conversation.
Oh, and you too, by all means, gorgeous. Please send our love to Jeannie, Adam, and everyone else there.
Always, 100%. So.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy. You have a great rest of your night. Big hugs to Mary, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too, beautiful, and we'll talk to you soon. Love you guys, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. This is Jennifer Hough from The Wide Awakening signing out. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for What's Presenting in Consciousness with Jennifer Hough and special guest William Linville. For more information on upcoming programs and events at The Wide Awakening, please visit www.thewideawakening.com.